Boiling Point and the Brent Brief, where the truth doesn't ask for permission. And today, we have Mrs. Brent here to dismantle the narrative of the left and expose the truth about the settlement on the Sunshine Act violation. So, welcome, Mrs. Brent, and thank you so much for coming on the Boiling Point and the Brent Brief. Okay,
Thank you
and
for having me on this Saturday
for
morning.
months now, we have heard a lot about the Sunshine Act violation. You're very welcome to come anytime you want, and you know that. So we
Well,
have heard
thank
for
you.
months, about the Sunshine Act violation, and it's carried along, it's carried, on for a couple months now. And you guys decided to settle the Sunshine Act violation, and we are hearing so many um narratives, shall I say, in our community as to why you guys settled. And thank you for coming on and speaking. Can you explain why the conservative,
You're
what we
very
call the
welcome.
the conservative five? I don't know if you
Mhm.
guys know you have a name. It's the conservative five. So please
Okay.
explain to us
I
why
didn't
the
know that.
conservative five minus two, we'll put out there minus two, decided to settle this violation. You have the floor.
Thank you. Well, they just wanted to put it behind us. So there were many factors. It has been very time consuming. It took time away from our families. It took time away from our spouses. It took time away from our homes and our gardens and our jobs. But that was the intention, right? That's, just, and I believe deep down, this wasn't so much about the Sunshine Law as it was nullifying the votes that we received from the people who we represent. So, what they did, in my opinion, and by the way, I'm only speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for any other members of the board. This is all my thoughts. But I am not alone. What they did was say to the voters, "Oh, you voted for conservatives? We're going to make sure they cannot function. We are going to bury them in other things. We're going to put their mind in other places. We are going to harass them. We are going to demand their personal cell phone records. Um, and they're going to demand any social media posts, which, by the way, we are required to present during discovery of any lawsuit. And that they really don't want our votes to happen. So if we are busy and distracted doing other things like a lawsuit, which is problematic, then we can't really govern. And that was the intention. I know this for sure. I mean, they've said it, it's out there. I didn't record it, but I've heard it said. And they'll deny that even. They'll even deny it in a school board meeting. We're not here to take away your vote. It sort of does. Yeah. So, but for the record, I voted no to settlement. David Brinton voted no to settlement. It's on public record. And we voted no because we wanted the case to go to a judge. A settlement looks a little bit weak for us, but I also want to be clear to the public that it was the plaintiffs, it was the people who sued us that came forward to offer the settlement. And it wasn't us going to them to say, oh my gosh, they're going to get us. It wasn't that at all. It was them coming to us, and then just the right amount of ingredients to say, you know what, this isn't right for the district. This isn't good for the district to have this lawsuit open. It's going to start costing a lot of money. And it really isn't right to do to the district. So in an effort to move on, in an effort to start, get back to doing board work, they decided, three others of us decided to vote yes so that they could get on with their families and their lives, and as they should have. I worry that voting yes enables them, or rather emboldens future people to have lawsuits, because they know that there is now, we're willing to say yes. I'm not, but of course the other four board members who were not named in the lawsuit, They voted yes. And then we had our three also voted yes. So it was a 7-2 vote. So my position was get it to a judge, because if we get it to a judge and the judge
Okay.
sees that there's no evidence of it, then the judge will rule. And that will push back much harder against someone wanting to do something frivolous in the future. Also, the legal costs were about to go through the roof. The easy stuff was done, but now the time-consuming legal work was going to begin. And that was going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayer money going to this frivolous lawsuit. And I was going to make sure that every week I was naming those plaintiffs who decided to do this to the district. I'm not going to let them get off the hook. It's not fair.
Mrs. Brent, the names, if you know them from the top of your head, of the people involved in the in this lawsuit, which I for many months now have been calling a bogus lawsuit. Who were
Oh,
the
it's so
people
bogus.
in our community that felt that they were so emboldened to try to silence further the voice of the conservative taxpayers and the conservative parents?
Well, the
Okay,
formal
I
names,
can't see it from
no, it's
here.
okay. I'm going to read them. The formal names are Stephen
Okay.
Bieber, Leah Cooper, Amy Elliott, John Elliott, Jeff Harmon, Tara High, Catherine Jan Jarrett, Jesse Sayer, and Jane Vivier. But it's versus,
Okay.
and this is important that people hear what's being said. It says versus school board directors of the West Shore School District, comma, Heidi Thomas, comma, Kelly Brent, comma, David Brenton, comma, Brenda Cox, comma, and Mandy, defendants. So it was very specific in, where's my camera? It was very specific in saying only the names of the conservative team that ran in 2023. But the other people were not named that were on the board.
So, wow. So that is right there, just that document proof that they were trying to silence the conservative five.
Oh,
In
yeah.
essence, by trying to silence the conservative five, they were trying to silence the conservative parents and the conservative taxpayers of Cumberland County.
They were taking the
So
vote away.
I
They were
would
taking
dare
the,
say,
yeah.
and please correct me if I'm wrong, I would dare say that this lawsuit, yeah, this lawsuit was politically based. Am I correct?
Absolutely. And I would consider
Would it
this
be
to
a
be,
fair statement for me to say?
it would be a very fair statement. I've been calling it the John Elliott lawfare case since it's been going on, which has been a little over a year.
Okay. All right. Now, just to bring some clarity, I have a lot of parents that ask me, Mariana, what was the the root cause of this lawsuit? Okay. Can you, as much as you may be able to elaborate, can you share with us what the root of this whole lawsuit was, the basis?
The basis of the lawsuit, I almost kind of don't know where to begin, but let's try to begin at the beginning. And if I back up, and I don't want to overly complicate the story,
Correct.
the root of the basis of the lawfare case and the narrative of the lawfare case actually started in early January. So we were elected in November. We were sworn in December, and January is when we begin our tenure. That's when we begin our time on the board. So if there was like the moment we knew we were like, oh no, is when we were running as a team. The parents had really given us a lot of information about what had been happening over COVID, that of course we were against. And they had certain things that they really wanted to ensure changed in our school district. And we were there to represent them. And we were hearing a lot of lawsuit talk, a lot of bullying. And these are from sober, thoughtful people, thoughtful meaning that they think through things. That these are not impulsive people who are having a bad day. They talked about the masks mandates, just all of those things. And it was what we noticed across the state of Pennsylvania was when a new board was able to create a shift in the board, it was that was when you should pick a new solicitor. And we did get in, and we wanted to at least explore the idea of a new solicitor. But in January, we brought forth an RFP. And this RFP was sort of a boilerplate that I was able to find online for Pennsylvania School District Solicitors RFP. Like if you just Google it, you'll find a whole bunch of them. And I looked at all of them, and I just kind of pulled something loose together. Now, you may say, well, what is your experience with RFPs? Well, my experience with RFPs is a lot more than any of the other board members, because I formed and own my own business since 1987, and I am a federal contractor since 2018. And we submit bids. We're on the other end. So we're the private company that would submit a bid if something came up for translation services, for example. And it comes through an RFP marked, and it comes through bots, and we get emails that people are looking for our services. We go to those places and we submit responses. Some of our responses are 30 pages long. It's a big deal to send an RFP, because it could be a total waste of time. So you put together 30 pages in response. How much are you going to charge? What are your insurances? Do you have CGIS compliance? Do you have HIPAA compliance? How much insurance do you have? What is your storage? Is it encrypted? What kind of encryption do you use? So they ask a lot of very specific questions tailored to the kind of services that they want. And so I'm very, very, very familiar with RFPs. I know what they look like, and I know how to respond to them. And we've been very successful in our responses. So this was more in my wheelhouse than Heidi's, the president at that time. We gave them the RFP for the solicitor that we found online, and we gave it to Dr. Stoltz and Dr. Argot to post on the early part of Tuesday. The president and the vice president of the board set the agenda on Monday or Tuesday, and we go over what the administration wants to put on the agenda, and then we add our own things. We gave them the RFP for the solicitor. We handed it to them on pieces of paper because it was just printed out. And the first question we got from the superintendent was, where'd you get this? They love to know where you got everything, right? Because they want to tie it to some wingnut organization or maybe some local organization, but they want to discredit us right there at the spot where'd you get it? But there wasn't anything for them to chase down. So we said, what does it matter? If you want to tweak something in it, we can tweak it. This is to begin the dialogue. So they never posted it for us. We don't know that, but they never posted it for us. And of course, we presumed that they are our friends and that they will do what the president and vice president tell them to do. But they did not. They withheld it. And apparently it was put on later, but outside the sunshine time. Needs to be posted for a certain amount of time. And we gave it to them within that window. And we told them to post it within that window. And we have witnesses. We have witnesses that know what happened here. So we put it out.
Now, Mrs. Brent, you know that I am not a fan. I'm sorry. You know that I'm not a fan of the administration that we have in place. So you know that I'm not a fan. But when you were saying this, what's coming into my head, and this is just me, my opinion, okay, that the administration purposely held on to that RFP, because if you gave it to them within the allotted time,
We
to
did.
be given to the other board members, if I'm correct, within the allotted time. And
We
he
did.
did not. He waited, okay, until the last moment to. So the way I see it, I'm sorry, guys, you know me, I'm going to call it as I see it. I see as though it was a deliberate sabotage. Now, this is my
100%.
words, not Mrs. Brent, not anybody else, my words. When you explain this to me, and I'm hearing you, this seems to be a deliberate sabotage. And if I'm correct, this is shortly after you guys took office. So they've been trying to sabotage you guys since you guys came into office. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Please continue. I just wanted to share where I'm at mentally, how I'm
Yes.
processing
Well,
this.
you're processing it as it should be processed. And, but, I have a witness to this. Heidi has me as a witness. I have her as a witness. And I am happy to take a lie detector test for all of this because the it needs to be put to rest and the truth needs to be out there and people need to know that it's the truth. But in whatever mechanism you need to know it's the truth from me, I'm happy to do it. So the RFP wasn't out to the public. And then we sit down to begin our meeting. I've gone through all of the contracts that we were sent, all of the paperwork, all of the memorandums of understanding. We get stacks of paperwork like this big the week before. And we have to go through them to make sure that everything looks as it should, the costs are lining up and what our needs are versus what we're paying for. It's a lot of cross-referencing. And so I was prepared for the meeting. I never thought anything of it. And we go to the meeting and we got the small incidentals out of the way. And then we begin the business items. And suddenly the other four members who are not a part of the new conservative team, 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats. And maybe just in name only, whatever that might look like. But let's say that there are, But Mr. Cambic, very specifically, sunshine. This is a sunshine violation. If you would go back to the meeting, it's the January meetings of 2023. And the sunshine violation, we were accused of violating the sunshine at the very first meeting. And we didn't violate sunshine. Administration did not fulfill its obligation. And when we got to that meeting, we were just attacked for, and Mr. Trone is like, he's like, where'd you get this RFP? Like, who is this ILC? And, they were making a lot of assumptions about where it came from. And that's completely irrelevant. It's a piece of paper, right? Where it came from doesn't matter. If you don't like
If
the
I may
content,
interject,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Okay,
Okay.
so I remember this meeting because I do go to these meetings, folks.
Yeah.
What gives me a tickle, okay, is Adam Trone. So they're accusing you guys right there at the meeting of a Sunshine Act violation. However, I think it was a day or so before, if I look back at the timeline of the documents that I have that was provided to me by one of our community members, he attempted Mr. Brenton during this time before that meeting actually played. So they're claiming
That is going,
no knowledge of the
that's in
RFP,
the
but
April
how?
meeting.
Okay, so they're claiming no knowledge. Okay, however, he was trying to bribe Mr. Trump, so that makes no sense to me.
Mr. Brenton, you mean? Mr. Trump was trying to bribe Mr. Brenton.
Yes, he was trying to bribe. Correct. Mr. Trunk's trying to bribe Mr. Brenton, but yet they sit there and claim that they had no knowledge that there was going to be a request to remove the solicitor at the time. Before you guys came into the school board positions, there was already rumble in the community that we wanted the former solicitor out
Mhm. Well, she
because
had been
of
there
the
12
what we feel
years.
was ineffectiveness.
Yeah, she had been there
Yes.
12 years. She was very good friends with the rest of the board members and administration. And I was seeing some pretty spooky things happening in the background that she was supposed to be, they're the solicitor for the school district. But foremost, they are solicitor for the board to make sure that the board, that the policies that we pass are in line with the statutes, to keep our school in compliance with, I don't know, let's say the Constitution, right? I mean, the simple things. But those things were not being done. And now she has the solicitor and the other board members. Now they have 4 new, and it should be more apolitical than this board seat, but they do have now 5, a conservative board of 5 majority. And that was a very scary thing for them. And so, but there were a lot of spooky things going on in the background that was very clear to us that we needed to remove the solicitor because of just, we called a private meeting, and as we started the meeting, Kelly and Mrs. Say and Mrs. Thomas, we called a private meeting to discuss a couple of very suspicious things that we were seeing. And as soon as the meeting started, in comes administration. In comes, the secretary, in comes the superintendent, and they just sat down and just stared at us. We didn't tell them we were having this meeting because we don't have to. But they knew about the meeting, which we didn't tell them about the meeting. And it was confidential. It was attorney-client privilege at that time. And I didn't invite them. After we had to take the meeting outside. And I said, I'm not comfortable having this meeting. This meeting is supposed to be for some really important things. And it should be just myself and Heidi. And she stood up and said, well, let's take it outside. I'm like, no, they have to go back to their offices, because there wouldn't have been any outside for us to be able to have the meeting. Papers were laid out, and this was just in the one education room that we use for executive session. But there they were. And we know now that they've already sabotaged us.
Correct. They already sabotaged you. And my
in
view
my
of
opinion,
Mrs. Say was that she was already compromised.
Oh, sure.
I agree. So my view of her was that she was compromised. Because when you're in a position for 12 years or more, okay, yeah, even if you're in the company for 5 years, there's friendships, there's liaisons, there's ties that are made among the staff. So she was compromised, and one of the complaints that the parents did have, and just to put this publicly, was that she was, of course, not there to gear the former school board member as to what needed to be done, not only I would say legally, because there were statutes in the time that the former school board members were in place, PA statutes that were violated, not only within those veteran school board members, but also within administration. So it was as though she was assisting them in bringing things that the parents were calling out as unconstitutional and downright illegal. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. So I do believe that we had to make a change. We had to bring in a new solicitor, which brings me to another question, Mrs. Brent. How did Mr. Kevin Hall wind up being our solicitor?
Crazy story, but it was proven in the phone records that we had to turn over for the sunshine violation. I got a call. So, well, let me just step back if I could just take us to that point. So, the next meeting we were building. So this would have been the second meeting in January. We were building the agenda, and on the agenda was the RFP for the solicitor. And I asked Dr. Stoltz to please remove that. And we tabled it on the first night because we couldn't understand why everybody didn't have it. We told them to get it out. It was their job to get it out, and they did not do it. So we were all caught flat-footed because administration didn't have us, and their job is to have the board members, right? And so we tabled it at the next meeting, agenda board meeting, planning. Dr. Stoltz wanted to put it back on the agenda. And I said, just take it off. And he said, well, I assume that you just wanted it back on. And I said, you should just really never assume. Like, assuming is just such a silly thing to do for anybody. So I said, take it off. And he's like, well, may I ask why? And I said, because we're just going to have to switch gears how we're going to do this. And we faced a lot of hostility in the crowd that night. And they were shouting that this is a sunshine violation. So the setup was from the jump. The setup was in the meetings starting in the very beginning. But we didn't violate the Sunshine Act. But the talk, right, mm-hmm. the chatter, they're going to get us on this somehow. But they have to start the dialogue. So at the next meeting, we didn't have it on. And then it just fell off. And then at the next meeting, the first meeting in February, we were leaving executive session that was closed. And as I was walking out the door, Mrs. Tierney said to me, if you ever try that RFP stunt again, you're going to get burned. And I turned around and I said, okay.
I believe it.
Okay, Abby. What's that?
I said, I believe that she will say something like that because that is within her demeanor.
Well, the funny thing is she denies later saying
I will definitely believe that.
What's that?
No, I said I would definitely believe it because I know how this woman rolls. This is the woman that came to my front door when she realized that I was going to do a writing campaign to try to intimidate me. Go figure.
That doesn't surprise me. But she did tell me not to pursue the RFP again or that I would get burned. So it was a threat, but I don't know what burned looks like, right? I have no idea what's going to burn me. And it's just kind of like, okay, whatever. We know what we have to do. So I had formed an RFP committee, and the RFP committee consisted of Kelly, David Brinton, Abby, Brian Guswhite. That was the committee, a committee of 4, a balanced committee. And as we started, we had one meeting, and we started with a new RFP, and then we were working it down. We were dialing it in. We were getting the document ready to go in front of the Sunshine so that we could hire somebody. So we kind of started from the beginning a different way. And then Mr. Brinton is hospitalized because of his health issue. Mm-hmm. And so then we had a follow-up meeting, and I was the only person in there representing my side, right? Because David's in the hospital. But suddenly the room has Dr. Argot, Matt Gay, superintendent, and you've got to know that now it's 2, Abby and Guswhite, superintendent, Gay, Argot, Kelly, right? And this is what it looks like to me. And certainly this is what it feels like to me. And there was some nastiness, like nasty tone and kind of aggressive posturing body language in that meeting that was happening that I was not happy with. And I was alone in my position. I didn't have David to have my back. And it was like, I said, why is everyone in here? The committee is just 4 of us. And I was attacked again. It was, are you saying that these people in here aren't going to have a say in this is administration? This is the cabinet. The cabinet has to have a say. They work with these folks. And while that may be true, they are not a part of the hiring process. The board hires the new solicitor. And I just was becoming very uncomfortable because it keeps morphing out of our control. And they keep hijacking the process. so that we're going to land right back on stock and leader. And we needed to make a change. Also, there were words said to Mrs. Thomas by our former solicitor, where she apologized to Mrs. Thomas for the terrible treatment of her by the other board members in the last 2 years. And she apologized
Mm-hmm.
for her part in being on the other side and not seeing her in a more humanizing way. And I thought, boy, that must have been terrible, right? And I have proof
It was.
of this apology, right? I have a witness to this apology, and I'm sure she will be a witness. So it just is not getting better in this time. So after I was attacked in that next meeting and pretty much barked at by Geiswhite, which I don't appreciate, I just thought to myself, you know what? It's not the law that we have to get an RFP. It's not in our policy that we have to do an RFP. I'm going to step back from this until I can sort out the best way. And then we're going to have to bring it before the board, of course, because we're going to have to deliberate, et cetera, et cetera. Now, that brings us to the next piece where it kind of died on the vine a little bit. We were working on some other things, but it was always in the back of my mind. But David had to get out of the hospital, and I needed to have my cohort back. And then after depositing some checks for my business, I remember the call. My phone rang and it said Kevin Hall. And I thought, Kevin Hall. I know that name, but I don't know how I know that name. So I took the call, and he said who he was, and he said he knew one of my friends, and that's how I had his card, that's how I knew his name, because I had his business card. And he asked me, how are things going at the school district? And I said, well, and then I realized that because he's a mutual friend, we have a mutual friend, this is somebody who's probably going to be okay with me. He's a resident of our school district, and he's an attorney. And he said, how's everything going? I said, well, it's quite awful. And he said, how's the solicitor search going? And I said, it's not going at all. And he said, you really are going to need to get a new solicitor. And I said, I know, but we are being undermined for this entire process, and I don't know how we can get there. And then he said, you don't need to do an RFP. And I said, I know, but they're making it like I have to do an RFP. So, or that we have to do an RFP, but we don't. And so he said, well, I think that at some point we should get together and talk. Now, I don't know what this guy looks like, and I've never spoken to him before, but I said, where's your office? And he said, it's in Camp Hill. And I said, are you busy? And he said, I can make room. I said, I'm in Camp Hill. Well, can you see me in 5 minutes? And he said, yes. I said, I'm on my way. Because suddenly I felt like a gift had been dropped in my lap. And, but it might be a disaster as well, right? But I did go over and meet him. He was very confident that the practice could do the work. And I called some references, and so I just did a little bit of my own homework there. But it would still have to be discussed and brought before the board, right? So, there was no action taken, no, you're going to be hired kind of talk. It was very, very open. And so I called Heidi and I let her know that there's this person that I spoke to him, and here's his phone number, but you're on your own. Meaning that we're not going to get together and talk about this. This is just, I found somebody, here's his phone number, see what you think. And so she did. And we were all above board when we were, having this discussion and trying to find someone who was not an operative of the inside of the school district cabinet and educational industrial complex. We needed to have someone who would look out for us. And that wasn't happening at all. In fact, quite the opposite. But we were elected to do certain things, and we need to get those things done. And we were undermined all the
Okay.
time, sabotaged all the time. People don't have any idea. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm understanding here that an RFP really was not needed. Now,
No,
in order to get the solicitor, and correct me
no.
if I'm wrong. Now, okay. So then, if there is no RFP needed, tickles me is that thinking back, and I probably do the article somewhere, when the superintendent of the West Shore School District got hired, there was no RFP set out for him either. And I also have the right to know, I did a right to know on that. So Todd Stokes was hired without an RFP. And I should have required an RFP versus just placing a body there. Because if we have the wrong administrator, we're opening doors not only to lawsuit, which we have already seen, but we are also opening the doors to problems within the community, the media being gaslighted, which we have seen, and his insubordination to our current school board directors. So the reality that an RFP was not needed for the solicitor, that is something very eye-opening compared to what they did when they placed Todd Stokes in that position. And one of the persons that spoke against the hiring of Todd Stokes without an RFP, and I have the news article, was Abigail Tierney. She was just
Sure.
entering as a new board member, and she was kind of put aside and kind of, set aback that they hired this man without doing an RFP. So why would they think that it's okay to hire a superintendent, if I'm making any sense, without an RFP? Okay, but yet demand that an RFP is done for a solicitor when an RFP in reality was not required.
No, RFPs are not required. Um, they can be good practice and best practices. But when it comes to Dr. Stoltz, I was told that's a little bit
Correct.
different. He, I was told that that was different, and I can see why it would be. The air is pretty thin in the air of superintendents. They are certainly not walking around without jobs, that's for sure. But no RFP was used to hire Dr. Stoltz, but I don't think that was necessary for him, as it wasn't necessary for the solicitor either.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Fair enough.
That's
Okay, so
yeah.
now we're here getting back to what you were saying. Okay.
Mhm.
If you will if you continue sharing with us what you would like to share with us. I just needed that clarification for my own peace of mind.
Sure, sure. So let's see. Okay. So I talked to Kevin. I gave Heidi his information, and it's circulated through, I think, the new conservative board members, who, by the way, have been treated. Oh, my husband's home, so you're going to hear some beeping and barking. Sorry about that. Um, it just hi, honey. So I'm just trying to think of how to go down the next road. So some of us spoke to him, and I don't know what words were said. We did not get together, have dinner, or do a Zoom meeting. We didn't do a conference call. There was certainly no talk of hiring him necessarily. I think we were willing to explore it in a board meeting. Let's have a board meeting and see what happens. Let's talk. Let's get it out. Let's um, and let's bring it to a vote. Well, that's when it starts to really go south for us. I mean, the dirty tricks that were being played on us were unbelievable. But here is where the text message comes in. So we voted on April 11th for a new solicitor. We had discussion in the sunshine. Certainly the community was out in full force. The press was there. Video, Penn Live, the York garbage disposal, the whole thing. and and it was very, very public. And I was fine with it. We had nothing to hide. We didn't get together. We didn't violate sunshine. And this could go either way. I have no idea who's going to vote what. But I can tell you that we were all experiencing the same kind of negative, angry, despicable, undermining behavior on the board from the more seasoned board members. They will deny that, but it was absolutely like going into battle every time we went in there. It was terrible. I mean, I was ready to quit, saying, you know what, if this is what the community wants in here, I can't work with these folks because they're just absolutely so mean, so destructive. So we come to the April 11th meeting. Now go back a few days. Now remember, this is before the meeting. And these are the receipts, okay? Because this entire binder, I just want to show the binder. This entire binder is the discovery phase of the lawsuit. So if there was any phone records from your personal phone, you had to turn your personal phone records over. If there were any text messages, they were to be turned over. If you had any social media posts, they were to be turned over. Anything you do as a board member should be preserved in this case, because they're talking about board things. Are you looking for Petunia?
Yeah.
Try the bathroom. Okay, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Real life. I'm a real life person. So what we have then is an email, ready, from one of the board members. Now, I don't know that I can turn this over for discovery or this discovery over because, there just could be more lawsuits and we don't want that for the community. But I will read to you an email that happened in January. Is this getting boring or is this getting interesting? Mariana? Is this
getting
okay?
very interesting. I'm here. This is getting very interesting.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to reveal to the public, just so that you know it is real, but I'm not going to disclose the documentation, this email. Okay? And I will read it, but this is important that you understand the dates. This is way, way before the meeting. It reads, and let me give you a date and a time. January 14th, 2:44 p.m. And this is very interesting. She wrote an email. This person wrote an email. And it states that last Thursday, I had informed you that the item added at the last moment to the meeting agenda issued a request for proposals to seek new legal counsel. So it wasn't added at the last minute. That's not true. We gave it to administration. Okay. And so then we have something. The school district appointed its new solicitor on May 11th. Maybe it was May 11th. I just want to hold on to that date, 2023. Neither board members nor the public had been given adequate notice of its existence. That's not true either. We gave adequate notice, remember? And we gave it to them on Tuesday. That's adequate notice. But it whips this email, it's multiple pages. It whips the public into a frenzy. And she's telling individuals what to do in an email. And it's being sent to very specific people in our community. Interestingly, those are the people who sued us.
If that's Abigail
Right?
Turney.
What's that?
Correct.
Say again?
If I'm correct, that was Abigail Turney who sent that email. I said, if I am correct, that was
Yeah.
Abigail Turney who sent that email giving specific instructions to the community.
Well, let's say maybe. I mean, you have to piece it together on your own. I don't want to make any accusations or, I just don't want to.
Okay.
I want all of that to go away. And
No,
the board looks forward
fair
to that
enough.
going away.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
But the email is from one of the plaintiffs suing us. And it says, X is continuing to share board information with those who are interested in the West Shore School District. She is not interested in having the information widely shared. Now that your granddaughters have graduated, I'm not sure how interested you will remain. If you would like to be added to X's mailing list, let me know. Then here comes another email from X. And this is where it appears that the superintendent was instructed to add the agenda item by new president Heidi Thomas and vice president Kelly Brent without consideration as to how such RFPs have been handled in the past or how they are typically handled in the district. But that doesn't make it policy, and that doesn't make it law. It's how they would like it done so that they can drill down and make sure that we land right back on the same solicitor that is problematic for some people. You see? In the short time that the board members had to review the RFP, which would be very short because they say that it was released to them 1 hour before the meeting, which would be a sunshine violation. But we didn't do that. We gave it to them 2 plus days ahead of time, you see. And how things are typically handled in the district has nothing to do with anything. We are a new conservative majority. We can change things. We are allowed to change things. People expect a change because that's what they voted for. She says it violates existing school law and board policy and failed to include critical qualifications necessary. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. And no, it didn't. No to all of that. So now X is creating a narrative and people believe her. So the board policy, I think we're getting into the weeds, but board policy 005 does not require an RFP. And that's for potentially hiring a new service like attorneys. Neither board members nor the public had been given adequate notice of its existence, the RFP. When asked to state grounds to terminate the existing contract, none were identified. We don't need grounds. She's not an employee. We know what's going on. We are uncomfortable that we are not being supported and we are being sabotaged and undermined, in my opinion, but also in the opinion of the other majority members. And I know this because we are all friends. We ran together as a team. We talk to each other, but we don't quorum and we don't vote. Okay. And then this email, again, this lengthy email says, this is where you come in, and this is going to be blasted to a great big group of people to activate. Okay, so this is now the public on the other side. Please take time to watch or attend this week's meeting. Whether you can attend the meeting or not, please make sure your voices are heard before the meeting. You can come and speak in the beginning of the meeting. Please fill out a blue card when you get there to give it to the board secretary or write to the board with your comments prior to noon on Thursday. It is my hope that if new board members hear from enough members of the public reminding them that the public are watching their actions, they are responsible for the consequences. We did everything right. Consequences to what? It was the administration did not release that RFP early enough. So now it's being set up that we didn't do it. We did it. But they're going to take this false thing that we didn't do, and they're going to create a story around it, and they're going to control the narrative around it. This will result in unnecessary costs resulting from an early termination of the contract. There is no early termination of a contract. It was a 30-day out, and she's not an employee. You can see they say contract. We don't have contracts with our employees, right? They're not a contracted 1099. For costs that result in hiring unqualified counsel. Of their individual votes, perhaps they will vote independently, so this action may be blocked. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. I really appreciate the feedback from many of you. Despite this nonsense, there are many wonderful things happening, yada, yada, blah, blah. But then in April, see, we're getting closer to the catastrophic meeting, right? We're getting closer because that meeting is going to happen on April 11th. This email is from April 8th.
Correct.
And don't forget, they're screaming that they don't know anything about it. We don't know anything about it. We don't know who he is. We don't know what's going on. Okay. I'd like to begin by apologizing for my incessant requests that you take action in regard to the upcoming school board agenda item. I have never served on the school board where it's been necessary for such a prolonged period, but it is necessary now. Then X talks about a long list of the things that are happening. All of these things are on their end. Remember, we started off with the strongest foundation, which is that we started off giving the RFP with enough time. But this narration that we are violating the Sunshine Act is not real because we gave it to them on time. But the whole thing was set up from the very beginning, and it needed the cooperation from inside, and they got it, which left us outside. Then it was on Friday, President Heidi Thomas and Vice President Kelly Brent abandoned the process of the RFP and selected someone as a new solicitor. We did no such thing. We didn't select him. It was like, you know what? Let's see what happens. But we needed to do it in the sunshine. We did it in a meeting in the sunshine. But if you remember, those meetings were packed with disruptors. And if you also remember, they came in wearing yellow for sunshine. So everybody's wearing yellow. Everybody's bringing a flashlight to flash the light on the sunshine. We've always been acting in the sunshine. But again, they're talking, this is going to be the narrative moving forward. So they have to create just enough noise about it because they're going to sue us and nothing's even happened yet. X is begging for help and action. Please come to the school board meeting at the ACE building. Protest. There were protests outside. And this was a very lengthy email of all of the things that all of them were supposed to do. Now, this is happening. Nobody knows about it. It's not happening in the sunshine, I can tell you. And everything is getting whipped up from the back. Okay. Then they claim that we are using an insufficient request for a proposal. It was a request for proposal for a solicitor for another school board. We're close enough that we can at least start using the framework, and then we can, put in things, remove things. It was just a document, just to get the conversation moving in January. Okay. Then I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I get this right. Kelly Brent became angry with the superintendent and solicitor when their actions were met with resistance from fellow board members and the public. I was frustrated because we were the majority and the people elected us to do something. And we were doing what the people elected us to do. And we were being not only stymied, but we were being slandered and maligned in the public for doing what we were supposed to do and what we were elected to do. Let's see. February 28th, she talks about that. It was just sabotage everywhere. And here's something that was said, which is not true, because this would have been said in the sunshine. So if you go back and listen to that meeting, I never said it. This is sort of like she's implying this. Okay. The RFP process was communicated to the board at its March 21 meeting. At that time, Kelly Brent expressed discomfort with a process in which she couldn't select exactly who she wanted as a solicitor. I don't get to select. It has to be voted upon. I know that. So now she's back to,
Correct.
Really setting me, specifically me up. There's a lot of text here, but I'm just going to move on. But something that's really interesting that happened when we started to get discovery, we started to get the flyers that they were sending out. Okay. Flashlights,
Okay.
yellow shirts, with a predetermined narrative to take out the majority. This was April 7th. On April 11th, they had Penn Live there for that meeting. I'm going to circle back and talk about the April 11th meeting. So it's available online.
Okay.
The West Shore School District Board meetings. You have to go to that date. It's April 11th, 2024. It was kind of crazy. Lots of cameras, lots of reporters, people begging for statements from the conservative majority. And it was just a circus. It was terrible, really. And it was very confrontational from the other board members. They were ready to go. Their narratives seemed to be very coordinated. And there was nothing we could do but just get through the meeting. You couldn't really talk. There was an incredible amount of intimidation coming from the audience, which was as intended. I had a former board president sitting directly in front of me, giving me the finger, mouthing what she's going to do. She would do things like, you know what I mean? Like hand gestures and like, you're done. Like it would be like, you're done, that kind of thing. But that's not picked up on any video. The video's on us. But it was absolutely
Oh, I remember that.
despicable, right? You do remember.
Exactly. Right.
It was
And I remember
terrible,
that did happen.
Absolutely.
Yes, I do.
Uh,
And I know exactly who you're talking about too.
Oh, yeah. So we were just being torn up. And we got through the meeting. And I had no idea how it would go. That's the truth. But I know that given what's happening in the crowd, if the crowd is fighting so much for this person and the crowd is horrible to us, they're treating us terribly, then we have to change. We have to make a change because the conservative majority is being silenced. And the vote is being nullified by everybody. And these aren't the people who would have voted for us. We have to represent the people who voted for us. So it came down to a vote. And it was a hell no by one of the board members. So it came down this way. And I was a yes. And I was just holding my breath that we would have at least 5, which would have been the majority vote. And we did. But it could have gone either way. But there's a text message out there, which is an attempted bribery. Let me see if I can find that little ditty. Hold on. I'm so sorry. I don't want to not be prepared, but I want to keep all of the paperwork in order. Well, I don't need this for that, but it's out there, and I am talking about this text message now. So the text message was from Adam Trone. It was sent to David Brenton before the election and before the vote. And Adam asked Mr. Brenton to go for wings and meet at Nick's. And he also said that his father would not be proud of the things that are happening, which is terrible because his father passed away. And it's like, wow, you would actually go that low. And he told him in a text message, and I have it, and I also have the metadata, which proves that it happened in Cumberland County. And the bribe or attempted bribe was as follows. If you vote no to a new solicitor, we are prepared to make you the president of the board. Okay. Now, I have it in my phone. I have my phone charging, but that is a bribe. And the reason that's a bribe under the Pennsylvania statute is because a vote, if you could swing a vote and then offer something in return, that qualifies under corruption. That is corruption, which, by the way, is punishable by up to $15,000 in fines, up to 7 years in prison. And let's see, there's one more thing. Oh, it's a third-degree felony. And we were trained in a sunshine violation. It's also, I think it's a sunshine violation because who's we are prepared to make you the president? If we are willing to do it, he's been colluding in the back with his folks, right? Not in the sunshine. Oh, by the way, we never did such a thing. Mm-hmm. We never had a Zoom meeting. We never even put 3 people on the phone at once. We would just have a couple casual conversations. I spend some time with Manny. Manny and I have become friends, but we're friends. So we're talking about kids and chickens and fish and eggs and all those things. But that's what really happened, is that actually there's another member of the board who did commit a third-degree felony. And that law enforcement in both counties have that information, and the DAs from both counties. So it is relevant in York County because it's in our school district and it's the director of our school district. And that address is in Lewisberry, which is in York County. But the text came from Cumberland County. Again, the metadata proves that it came from Cumberland County. So the DA for Cumberland County is also involved in this process. So detectives in both counties are working on that. So, but it's very important that our community know.
And that is good to hear. That is very good to hear, because at least some sort of resolution will come out of this.
Yes, and also our representatives have been looped in. We believe, we were hired. We were voted on. I'm sorry, hired would mean we collect a paycheck, which we don't. But we were brought in to clean this up, and I can see why. But there is corruption on this board, absolutely. And there was a very good synergy between the solicitor from the past and administration and the cabinet and then the other board members. And that was something that they weren't going to allow us to participate in. And then there was the admission of guilt for treating Mrs. Thomas with contempt. And she was very sorry that she treated her that way. She knew how everybody else was treating her. She's sorry that they never invited her to go with them to go get, a drink after a board meeting, which the others did go. And it was kind of sad for me to see what Mrs. Thomas must have been through if all of this was just admitted, wrapped in an apology, in front of me and in front of Mrs. Thomas. It was disappointing and sad. I felt really bad for what she must have gone through in her tenure the last 2 years. But anyway, trying to make some changes.
Well, I remember before the new board came in, I remember how they were treating Mrs. Thomas because I was already going to these meetings at that time. And they were definitely targeting her. She was the only conservative voice on the board. And they wanted to wear her down, break her down in hopes that she would step down. And all this, guys, what Mrs. Brent is speaking and presenting to us it's proof. It's just,
Yes.
proof that they're trying to silence not only the conservative five, but they're also trying to silence you, the voter, you, the taxpayer, you, the conservative parents of Cumberland County. We have been complaining about parental rights being stripped away when it came to the senior or the veteran board members, okay, and the ones that are remain, and the administration, because I have to add it. Unfortunately, the administration have had their hand in this, okay, and the way they set up the new conservative five is really disgusting. Is really shameful, and hopefully at some point in
It's
time
terrible, really.
that
It's a
some
crime.
sort of
There are criminal acts in here.
repercussions, yeah, correct. And there has to be repercussion, not only at an administrative level, people, but also with the situation with the bribe of Adam Trong, trying to bribe another school board member to vote their way. And thank God that David Brinton is a man of integrity. That David Brinton did not
Oh,
bite
thank
on this,
goodness.
okay?
Yes.
And he stood his ground and
No.
he did the correct thing. Yes, imagine how that it would have
Yes.
been a total disaster. When it comes to the RFP, which she already
He has a
established
lot of
that an
integrity. David
RFP
has
was
a lot
not
of
needed.
integrity.
And then we see another board member, okay, trying to collude with the Yes, David Brinton does have a lot of integrity, and I agree with that. And it's even more disgusting to see another board member, let's call the board member X, trying to collude with the community and other organizations. Because I'll have you know, guys, when you see some of these meetings that Mrs. Brent was referring to, okay, you will see, and when Mariana was there, and I believe ABC was there at one point, you see a lot of people coming out that came out to these meetings. And let us know that these were not members of our community. A lot of them, I would say a good 50% or so, were not members of our
Right.
community. They were reinforcements that was
Right.
brought in from other counties to make it show as though the community in number was against these decisions. No, the community, okay, that actually has a voice are the ones that voted the conservative five in, because we were tired of the government overreach. We were tired of the violations of the Constitution, of the violation of PA standards, of the silencing of the parents. Because I've been in these meetings. From the moment that they came in, they already had set in their minds that they were going to do whatever they need to do, down to a lawsuit to make sure that they are tainted. The conservative five will be tainted, and that they are
Ugh.
unelectable. But you see, one thing that the left doesn't understand, okay, is that whatever you do in darkness will be exposed to the light. And this bogus lawsuit has exposed a lot of this to the light. So, in them settling, and it was a very wise move, and I wish they did not settle, but you guys know me. I will burn that bridge. You guys know me, okay? I'm a fire thrower. However, it was wise, okay, that they took in consideration the
Yes.
taxpayers, because would this have moved forward and continue to move forward as it should have to really vindicate them 100%,
100%. Yes.
it will have cost more of your tax dollars. And it's sad that the veteran school board members that are sitting on that board, and some of the disgruntled members of our community, and who I lovingly call, and I'm going to say, the Nine Village idiots, they did not consider the effects it may have in on our community.
I think they did. I
It
think
was
they wanted this. I
about
think they
them,
want a
their
mass
political agenda.
vote
Because
vote
one
of
thing I
us
can
to.
tell you, I know some of these conservative five, and at no point in time, correct, correct. And I can tell you about one thing about these conservative five. They never ever try to bring religion into the schools like they've been accused. They have
No.
never tried to bring in or force their political views, okay, ever. Okay, they have tried to be very apolitical. So that being stated, all this fuss and all this fight and all this gaslighting has come from the veteran school board members, including the ones sitting there, okay, at the board right now, and the disgruntled community that wants to silence the conservative voice and the conservative taxpayers and the conservative parents. They want you silence. And also the religious voices in our community. If anything that I say is incorrect, Mrs. Brent, please correct.
No, there's nothing. I mean, that's absolutely 100%.
Okay. As we concluding this podcast today, is there anything else that you want the community to know, Mrs. Brent? Because this is about you putting the truth out there, okay, and bringing now this false narrative that is being presented to the community. And just for you to know, guys, there is a call for the community to pay the legal bills of the 9 village idiots. Please do not donate a cent, because if you're going to start a fight, please know that you should be able to finish it. Okay, it should not be that the cost of these legal fees should not be yet again on the backs of the taxpayers. And that shows you, okay, the lack of respect that they have for our community and the taxpayers of Cumberland County. Mrs. Brent, you have the floor.
So some of the other things that have been happening is we have been able to dig into. Okay, so this lawsuit. This is the binder of all of my paperwork that I printed, and in here are social media posts that of where we're not allowed to be. They don't let us into that group, and the group is. I'm just going to say they're very hateful about us. And I mean, there are things in here that say it's all just disparaging and really, they're saying, like I lied on camera. I didn't lie on camera. Like you can't even lie here. This is silly. Also, they keep using a picture of Mandy and I. I'm listening to something Mandy is saying. And Mandy was so cute. She's like, do you know when it's going to be a good time to go to the bathroom? And I'm over here listening and she's talking to me. And they have us like conspiring to do something really bad. And she's just trying to go to the bathroom, right? So everything that they see that is benign, they will make like terribly malignant within our community. They have the emails. There are a lot of things happening in the Northern New York Dems. That's the email address, northernyorkdems@gmail.com. These are people within our community. Let's see here. There was a little bit more discovery that I wanted you to see. I will see if I can find it, but it's I don't want to release discovery per se, but it certainly proves that we are innocent without any question. And the reason I wanted it to go before a judge is so that our community would be, or a certain members of our community would be maybe more thoughtful about coming after a school board in the future, because the school board will fight against you, and we are willing to take it to a judge because we knew that we were innocent. It was just a politically motivated, we hate Republicans kind of problem. But anyway, in the end, it's over. But now they owe a lot of legal fees. They owe need donations over $7,000 to pay their legal fees. And it serves them right, because it was a frivolous lawfare case to drag us through the mud for the future elections, and the future election is really only mine. I'm up for election this season. So I hope the community can understand a little bit more what is happening, but I do have the receipts, and I'm reluctant to put them out on social media, but everything I said is true. And again, I will sit in front of a lie detector. I'll sit for that test, and I will be proven to be 100% telling the truth.
Well, I must interject, and that is that you guys are totally innocent. People understand that this was a lawsuit, so a lot of these things that she has been speaking about, is public record. Okay, there are things that you can actually, go out there and find, because a lawsuit is public record. We have access to everything. That say she might have access, or anybody who was involved in this foolish lawsuit, probably not. But there are things that you can obtain. The Boiling Point has obtained some of these records, so we know more than the average bear, but that's the reason why. This was a bogus lawsuit, okay, to try to silence the conservative five, because I know for a fact, and as you guys know, I also ran the same time they were running, and I know for a fact that even before she was voted in. But the reason Mrs. Brent was voted in, because and Mrs. Thomas and Mrs. Davis and Mrs. Cox and Mr. Brenton, is because we were tired. We were tired of the clown show that we had, which was the veteran board clown show. And we needed to be represented. And these are the people that we elected to represent us. Unfortunately, the left and the veteran school board members that are sitting there, and I'll be brave enough to say it, and you guys know who I mean when I say Jezebel, okay, that has orchestrated all this. And I will say it, okay, I will say it. Jezebel that has orchestrated all this. It has been an attempt to get Mrs. Brent removed and unelectable. But you know, guys, when I see Mrs. Brent, I see a woman, okay, that has put herself out there, okay. I mean,
Yeah.
countless hours. I mean, and it's voluntary. This is voluntary. She don't get paid for this, okay. She does not get paid for this, and neither do the other four. Countless
Right.
hours in protecting your child, in
Yeah.
being your voice, in making sure that your children are not exposed to the smut that we have seen, okay, that they have exposed our children in the past, and are continually trying to do, trying to bring in common sense in a district that lost common sense a while back. And it has not been an easy feat. We have seen a woman that was willing, okay, and actually brunt the cancel culture. She faced the cancel culture that tried to not hurt not only her, but Dr. Brent, who is a fantastic doctor, okay,
He
because
really is.
of their political agendas, because they want to silence the conservative voice. Mrs. Brent and Mrs. Cox both went through that fire, okay, and they're still standing, praise God. So if you guys want a school board member, and you want the West Shore School District to continue to move in the right direction, we need to make sure that Mrs. Brent remains in that seat, because the other option that we have, which is Mrs. Mickle, that all she is a talking head. Compare her Facebook to Adam Trone's Facebook. Okay, cyber school bass, cyber school bass, cyber school bass. That's all you're getting from this woman. And also, the people endorsing her are people trying to bring in their agendas and their political views, okay,
Yes.
into the schools, and
Yes.
they will further silence you. They will take your rights away. Okay. And what's going to happen is that if this lady gets in, this is going to be the end of the West Shore School District as we know it. We need to finish the job that we started a few years ago, which is cleaning up the West Shore School District. And we must make sure that Mrs. Brent stay in that seat because she has been all hours of the night facing this battle for you and your children.
Yes.
So,
I
with
must
that being
say,
stated, Mrs. Brent, do you have any last words?
um, I will say that it has been, like, at times, really quite terrifying, and it's not worth it. It isn't worth it. But I think that the antics from the other side and all of the things like in here, this is over an inch of paper, so it's, half a ream. Um, what they have successfully done, the other side, what they've done is they have intimidated, and um, they've frightened people who could run if they want a Republican candidate, if they want someone who's a little bit more conservative, if they want someone who will protect the family. You got to protect the parents to be able to protect the child. So it's power to the people. It's power to the parents. It's power to the community. It's not power to the school. It's we have to make sure that um, that these kids are not being indoctrinated. They're not being taught trans things in first grade. The things that have been going on in our schools are activism in a way that could really harm your family. And we're trying to remove that activism. These kids are not proficient in a lot of their subjects. And it's time to get back to education so that we can bring up these proficiency scores. That's what we have to do. But rather than allow us to go down that path, we have been sidelined by this lawsuit, as intended, by this lawfare case, for which we didn't do it. We didn't do it. We were allowed to hire a new solicitor. It turns out that the night that we voted, happily, all of our people were, on the same page, but they weren't on the same page because we all got together and colluded. Quite frankly, I think that the antics that they were seeing from the other side really makes us dig in. It's like, okay, we're over a target. This is, we're taking flack because we are over their sacred target. And that, I believe, that is why we all were a yes vote, is because we are all facing fire. And that means that we have to unite and stay together, because it was despicable, the whole thing. But what has been going on in the schools has to be dialed back, and we are doing that. When it comes to mental health screenings happening in our school district to our children, those screenings ask questions about things happening in your home. And maybe you don't want the school district to be gathering that data and putting it in a portal. And then that portal is gathering data. Who knows who they're sending it to? But I'm pretty confident that that information is going out. I don't think that information stays within, because otherwise you would have a questionnaire that's on a piece of paper, but instead it's on a tablet. It's in a portal, and so it's digitized, so it's very portable. And even though it's not going to necessarily be sold on the street, right? Somebody's getting that information. And so what we are trying to do is, and I think that we will be successful in having a box in Schoology so that you can click the box that you do not want any screenings happening with your child. And if it were me, I would be clicking that box, because a lot of these questions are none of their business. They ask about things like, are there any weapons in your home? And then they ask further questions if they go down that road. If yes, do this, do this. It's sort of like a flow chart. They take you down. Then I think there are questions about race. And there are questions about what time you go to bed, what time do you eat, where do you do your homework, who helps you do your homework. These are things like, I think they're kind of private. I remember these screenings happening when my boys were in Cumberland Valley, and this would have been in 2000, right? Roughly those years. And I remember thinking, none of this stuff is any of their business. This happens in our home. And why are they gathering data in our house? What's going on? Now that's 25 years ago. So I'm really familiar with these types of questions. And I reading, writing, arithmetic, STEM, all the things that the kids need to know to compete with the world on the world market in the next X amount of years for our kids, for our students. That's what we need to be focused on, not the things that divide us. We need to unify and get smart together. And so we are trying to give power back to the family. So the hierarchy for me is, and I was yelled at by the superintendent in a public meeting for pointing out the flow chart, the organizational chart to the public. Do you remember that, Mrs. Reed? Mrs. Brent, you even put the organizational chart up. And that kind of nasty commentary to me, like I'm doing something wrong. Shouldn't everyone who pays taxes in our school district know the hierarchy, the organizational chart of a school district? Shouldn't they all know? Because the board, the voluntary members of our community, the board is at the top. But I don't really see that as a thing. We the people are on top of the board members. And we the people, we're here to serve the people. We're not here to do what's best for my spouse who's a teacher, or what's best for me because I'm a part of the educational industrial complex. My pension's going to depend upon my vote. We're not here for that. I'm not here for that. I'm a business person here to have your back. That's what my job is. And I just hope that you understand that I'm here for the people. And I don't necessarily think it's a good idea.
We're not here for that.
No, I'm here for the people. And if the people want me to dial it back, I will. If they don't want me to dial it back, another person will be elected, and it will be full steam ahead with the processes in place as before. I'm trying to pull those processes out. I'm trying to remove screen time from the kids' educational experience. I'm trying to remove iPads from following these kids home, following them over the weekend, following them over an entire summer, unsupervised. I just, it's not that if we could just talk about screen time for a minute, it's not that you're giving access to the world to your child through a tablet. You're giving access to your child from the world who has a tablet. That's how you have to look at it. You're still the parents, and you need protection. And these kids are not owned yet by the World Health Organization or the UN. These are your children, and we're here to represent you and to protect these children from all the things that the state seems to be issuing laws to allow the kids to be doing in school. It's terrifying. So anyway, I'm here for you if you want me. But if you want me, you're really going to have to show up, because it's going to be a big fight this election. That's my closing argument.
Yes, this election will be a big fight. That is correct. You're right. This election is going to be a big fight. And yes, the iPad, is a lot of screen time between school and home. And parents need to be watchful about that. And I love that Mrs. Brent also brought forth that these iPads, the damages that it can do, the screen time, the damages that it can do to the kids' eyes, and health. There's a lot of studies out there you can find out. And she said that in the meeting, and it didn't go well, but I thank God that she stood her ground.
Yeah, no to the iPads. But it was a $1.2 million purchase. It was a big deal.
Correct.
And I was a no vote.
That's a lot of money.
I think I was the only no vote. But I remember that, which is good. Yes. So stay tuned. I will be gathering some more thoughts and
Correct.
explain
You and
more
Heidi
about the
voted no to the
consequences
sign
that will
pass.
happen
Yes.
to West Shore if I am not reelected. Firstly, the board will go back to a different majority, and that different majority will bring in all day K right away. And I love all day K, but it's going to be a $4 million process to get all day K into our school, and then we have to maintain those numbers. So that's a tax increase that I don't think we can afford right now. So I will come on another time and talk about the
We
good
can't
things that
afford
we're
it.
doing. No, 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 no. You can't afford it right now. And oh, by the way, we do have all day K for like a third of
Mm-mm.
our student
Eh,
population to kind of bring them up so that they are ready for kindergarten. So we pay for a third anyway. Um, but I think it would be better for me to come on another time and tell you the good things that we've been working on and what we stand to lose if I lose my seat. It's not really a threat. I don't want anybody to feel that way, but I want you to understand some of the really great things that we've done. So, in a year and a half, oh, by the way, and the things that have been overlooked and neglected and not
that would
acted
be
upon.
great.
Yes, the things that have not been done, you know, we're doing some really good things. And then all we receive is criticism in the meeting, especially from Mrs. Tierney. Uh, well, I've been here 15 years and I'm going to put on my legal hat and trying to undermine our successes. But those successes are good ones. They are grants. Things are getting done with no tax dollars. It's very, very good. So I'll prepare something for another time. But thank you, Mariana, for the opportunity.
And that would be great. You're very
Yes.
welcome. And we'll have Mrs. Brent again here on the boiling point with the Brent Brief. Okay, she will keep briefing us. And yes, they have done some wonderful things, the natatorium, the Red Lamp Project that needs to come to fruition. And yes, we need to we are publicly informing Abigail Tierney here at the boiling point that the school board, okay, offices and the school board floor in the courtroom, and she's not. And she's tried to undermine everything that the conservative hive has been trying to do because it doesn't fit with her agenda. But that's on a different chat that we will definitely have here in the boiling point. So I want to thank
Yes.
Mrs. Brent for taking time to be with us
Yes.
and putting the truth out there. And putting the truth out there. But yeah, today was a challenge in getting the internet up and going. However, we will have her again. And again, guys, if you want to speak about this further, feel free to contact Mrs. Brent. Feel free to email her. I'm sure that she's been very transparent. I mean, as long as I've known her, she's been very transparent and has nothing to hide. Will never lie to you. Okay,
No.
so yes, if you want a school board member that is for you, for your children and your family and the conservative voice and the conservative everybody, regardless what the left is trying to spin, then you want Mrs. Brent. If you want common sense back into the West Shore School District, I would highly encourage you to vote for Mrs. Brent. I know I will.
And if you,
I am.
if I may, I would love to
So
ask everyone to
that being
share,
stated,
share, share,
thank
share.
you and God bless. Yes.
Share, share, share.
Yes,
And
share
if
it
you
out,
follow me
share it
on
out,
my
share it
West
out,
Shore
and get the
Facebook
word out there,
page,
guys.
yeah, I have a West Shore, Kelly for West Shore School District page on Facebook. Please follow me. I'm going to be releasing small videos about small topics at least once a week moving forward. And I'm ready to campaign and begin the sprint toward November 4th. So I seek your support. Thank you. Thanks very much, Mariana.
Mrs. Let's help Mrs. Brent with this battle moving forth because it is a battle that we have in
Yes.
our hands. But
Thank you.
somebody like Kelly Brent is worth the fight. Okay. God bless you. And this is Mariana
Bye,
signing